Mm. All right, all right. I've mowed the lawn, freshened up. Now let's do the in or out book tag by Rick McDonald. In this tag, it's you basically Rick's provided a whole bunch of topics like classic tropes and book features, and talk about whether you're in them, you like them, or you're out, you don't like them. And he's, as he says, feel free to tag yourself if you don't get to the end of what's a jeezily long video, because I'm also doing Steve Donahue's slight addition to the tag. And then you can add more of your own. So if you don't get through the whole tag, go check out Rick's, go check out Steve's. I'm going to get on with the topics. All right, let's start off. Number one. By the way, there are 26 ones by Rick, and then there's an additional 20 by Steve, just to give you an idea of the scope of this god-awful tag, which I obviously it's not that god-awful, or else I wouldn't be doing it. All right, let's get into it. Quick. Topic number one, read the last page first. So this is the practice of when you pick up a new book, flipping to the very back and reading the last page, possibly because you're going to die before you get to the last page, or possibly because you can't stand the tension of not knowing what happens at the very end when you start at the beginning of a book. For me, this is an alien concept. I am out on that. It would be completely meaningless to me, as I think Steve Donahue said. No, it doesn't even occur to me. Though I should have flipped to the back of Evelyn Waugh's Brideshead Revisited, because my copy didn't have the last page. That's the only time that would have come in handy, is if I checked to see if it actually had a last page, so I could finish the goddamn book. Number two, this is, I think we're getting into more kind of tropes. Enemies to lovers. If it's done well, yeah. Oftentimes it isn't, so I'll go with out in just a general term. Okay, it's one of these things of, with a lot of these tropes, you can always say if it's done well, but if you feel like I'm going to just go with, I think the majority of times I've seen that done, I haven't been convinced. I'll decide on that side of things. This is a binary system. This isn't any of this damn, let's be diplomatic and say, oh, some people have a point, and oh, so other people, no, binary, yes, in or out. So I'm out on enemies to lovers. Number three, dream sequences. I am out on dream sequences. I do find that the majority of times that this is a lazy thing. I like books that are entire dreams. It's is it Arthur Schnitzler's Trama Novella, the dream novel. That is great because the whole thing is a dream. I want everything a dream or not, yeah. Number four, love triangles. I'm actually in with love triangles. Yes. The Hunger Games. Not a love triangle. Not a love triangle, but the trope is toyed with and used and fools many a reader. So yes, I am in with love triangles. Number five, cracked spines. Yep, fine, whatever. You read that the hell out of that book. Number six, the trope of characters going back to my small town, which, it's funny, I heard that and I immediately had a negative reaction to that, which was quite opposite to Rick, who is a guy who, that is his story, that he left a small town, I guess, and he came back to his small town. For me, I'm somebody who left my small town and never am coming back. So I'm going to go with that reaction of just personal, of no, I'm out. Number seven, monsters are regular people. Now, he was taking it very much in a kind of a literal thing of monsters as in vampires and werewolves. I'm much more, when I think of that, and I'm going to go with what I think of, I do think of monsters are regular people, as in the most monstrous amongst us are regular people, are human beings, and we should be aware that human beings as a species contain that, are capable of that. In the worst circumstances, large numbers of us are quite happy to go along with horrible stuff. And if you look at the history of any country, and I think of Canada, we're perfectly capable of doing really fucking horrible things to minorities, to the less powerful, to those we can get away with, for their own good. So yes, I'm in with monsters are regular people. Number 8, no paragraph breaks. I'm going to say that at the moment, because, oh God, is it even there? I don't even know where. Oh, there it is. I am at the moment. I am going to say that I am out on no paragraph breaks, at least for the moment. At least for the moment, until I put this back into my pile of 20 books for the booktube spin, I am out on no paragraph breaks. I also do think it's just one of these things of why other than to just make it more difficult for the reader. And there's probably are valid reasons, but and who knows, maybe Thomas Bernhard's The Loser will be the book that will convince me that yes, there's always exceptions to that rules, but for the grand majority, and I'm going for majority rule here, no, I am out. I am out on no paragraph breaks. Number 9, multi-generational sagas. I am out. I am out. I have trouble juggling a cast of 5 characters in the thing when it goes into the, Jeezily tons of characters. For the most part, which is what I'm going with, I'm out. I'm out on multi-generational sagas. Number 10, rereading. I am totally in with rereading. Rereading is so amazing. There's so many books I've come back to and thought, wow, this is a completely different book because I have changed so much and hopefully I've gotten better as a reader, and it's just amazing thing. So yes, I am totally in for rereading. Number 11, artificial intelligence. This is the exploration of artificial intelligence. I would say I'm in, with the caveat that I think artificial intelligence is simply something that human beings use to explore their own, what it means to be their own selves, whether that's intelligence, whether that's soul, whether that's being, whether that's identity. It's not about the machine. I'm sure someone smarter than me has probably, where I'm getting it from, has said something like, probably when artificial intelligence actually does generate, we won't even recognize it. We'll have a hard time actually recognizing something genuinely different than human intelligence, much like, sort of alien intelligence. It'll be hard. Number 12, drop caps. Sure, I'm in. Number 13, happy endings. Yes, I am in for happy endings. Happy endings are the hardest endings to write, I find, and at least for the kind of books I read, they can be the most hard to earn. So when I find one, like Butter Honey Pig Bread, I totally embrace a happy ending when I can find it. They're hard and they are rare and they're to be treasured. Number 14, plot points that only converge at the end. Now, Steve made the point that this is what a proper story should do. I think that Rick was talking more about you have like multiple storylines, multiple characters kind of going off doing their own thing, and then slowly at the end they converge. The latest example of that for me was There, which I was kind of disappointed when all the plot points converged at the end, because I sort of saw it as it was going to happen, and it felt mechanistic in that case. Maybe that is the limitations as me as a reader investing in the characters, or that Tommy Orange, the author, just wasn't able to convince me that these were more than just kind of chess pieces going towards this end. So I'm out at the moment. I am out at this very, very moment, and I am happy to completely change my answer by the next book that I read. Number 15, detailed magic systems. Oh, we're getting into all my reading lately. Though, actually, I have to say, I've had trouble with Brandon Sanderson's latest gigantic tome, the latest in his Stormlight archive series. But actually, I don't think it was his detailed magic system he did. And actually, I sort of enjoy using Brandon Sanderson as that example. I sort of enjoy it because he's got a very kind of science fictional way of doing magic systems, and the enjoyable info dump about them, which isn't to say that I actually kind of like magic when I have no idea how it's going on, but you do get the sense that there's the intelligence of the author behind the scenes pulling things, but that makes it, part of what makes something magic is I shouldn't be able to understand it. So am I in or out? I'll say in, but I'm also in for the exact opposite. So I've broken my own rules about binary, but oh well, I can break the rules. Number 16, classic fantasy races. I'll be in. Yeah, they're fun. Hopefully variations, hopefully not just complete Tolkien-esque knockoffs, because I think when you say classic fantasy races, you're basically saying, do you like Tolkien? Do you like Tolkien stuff done by other people? And it's like, yeah. Some of it's god awful, and so I'm gonna say I'm in, regardless of the fact that there's so many Tolkien ripoff artists that sort of I don't read and not interested in at whatsoever. Number 17, unreliable narrators. I like a good unreliable narrator just because it adds an extra thing of engagement for the reader. Of you have to like, okay, I should be paying attention as a reader, but when it's an unreliable narrator, that is a technique of the author to say, hey, you really need to pay attention. You really need to read between the lines. I'm not going to lay everything out in front of you. And when I'm in the mood for that, I'm totally in for the mood for that. And when that works, boy, that's just gangbusters. So in for unreliable narrators. Number 18, evil protagonists. And I would say I'm because Rick gave some qualifiers and stuff like that. I'm going to go no, an evil protagonist. He's got the mustache, he's twirling it, and I'm out on that. It's boring. It's really, really boring. Probably goes back to people are monsters too. Or monsters are regular people too. It's like no. Evil protagonists are flat protagonists and antagonists and shit, god damn it. See, now who's the uncareful reader? An evil protagonist. So in other words, the main character of this novel is evil. I mean, Rick was talking about sort of edgelord stuff where you have someone who's basically a sadistic murderer killer throughout a book, and you're encouraged to enjoy the kind of in a sadistic way enjoy. I mean, there's grim dark stuff where there's anti-heroes who have very mixed things, who have selfishness, who do wrong things for their own self-justified reasons, and that can actually be interesting. See, now I'm putting the nuance, which is probably the nuance that Rick put into it. So yes, I'm in for evil protagonists because I think that can be interesting. I don't want that all the time, but I also want characters who are complicated or not necessarily always heroes. Great paladins who are always going to do the right thing. Sometimes wondering, wow, will this guy do the right thing in this situation? Like, what's going to happen? That kind of adds a little tension there, and maybe that answers a little bit of the question to Rick. I was like, well, why would you follow an evil protagonist? I would probably yoink out the word evil and put in the word gray or human. Maybe my conception of human of. We're not all nice people. We can be real assholes sometimes. We can be really selfish, and I want that reflected in literature. Just so I think that's a valuable. I think it's a valuable thing to have in literature. I don't think all protagonists should be likable. I think they should be fascinating, though. I think they should be fascinating. Number 19, The Chosen One. Sure, yeah, I like a good Chosen One story as much as the next person. It's a fun trope. I probably have not read, I don't read a ton of fantasy, which I think is where oftentimes this is put. But I like a good Chosen One story every once in a while. There's a reason things are archetypes. There's a reason why Joseph Campbell found this in all sorts of literature in the world, and I wouldn't toss it away. So I'm in for Chosen Ones. Number 20, When the Protagonist Dies. There was a Flannery O'Connor story that I read where the viewpoint character at the beginning of the story dies halfway through, and there's a seamless transition into another. And I, of course, cannot remember the name of that. And you can't leave a comment down below to remind me what it is, but you'll have to take my word that you should read all of Flannery O'Connor and find that story. That's probably just a reasonable request on its own because Flannery O'Connor is really fascinating author. And that's like in the middle of the story died. Dying at the end, that's for amateurs. Make your protagonist die in the middle. Then I'll be in. Number 21, really long chapters. Okay. I like books where, oh boy, I have that kind of thing of like click, 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 click. You get that sense of accomplishment of short little chapters, and you read more because the chapters are so short. This is a great technique, especially like you see best-selling authors do this, and that's part of the reason why they're probably best-selling authors. It makes it easy to read. That said, you get some grand set pieces. You get some things that intense scenes that are super involved that take 50 pages, and that's awesome too. God damn it, I have to be in or out though. I'm going to be in on a really long chapters. There, I finally, you know, put my money where my mouth is. Number 21, French flaps. Sure, what the hell, I'm in. Number 23, deckled edges. Sure, what the hell, I'm in. Number 24, signed copies by the author. Do not. I'm out. I'm out. I don't care. You're defacing that book. That book is going to be worthless. Not that I actually even care about that. I'm always of the opinion that entire book is one giant statement by the author. Putting a signature at the beginning of it does not mean anything. Number 24, dog earring pages. Dog earring pages. Oh, dog ear. Oh, can you see? Look, all that dog earring pages. I must have really loved that book. Oh, did I crack the? I didn't crack the spine though. But yes, dog earring pages. I am totally in on. Totally in on. And finally, for this half of the video, 26 chapter titles instead of numbers. I would say yes, totally. I love chapter titles. Steve actually reminded me that the thing I really like is long descriptions at the beginning of chapters that would describe, like, where within this chapter our heroine climbs mountains, battles tigers and lions, and dances the can in Paris. It's like I love those kind of descriptors at the front of chapters. So yes, totally into chapter titles in things. So that is Rick's modest little tag. You know, okay, it's 26 things, but that's not enough. That's enough. We don't need to do more than that. Except Steve Donahue comes along and has his modest list of additions, in which he goes on about in his usual length and in his usual manner. And so, yes, I will link down below to Steve Donahue's additions, just a few, as he says at the beginning of the video, his few. At the beginning of the video, Steve's a few. Number one, first from Steve, ebooks, in or out? For me, most definitely, I don't have it here, most definitely in for ebooks. I read ebooks at night because my bad eyes. I find for print books, I need to be sitting on the couch with a bright light there, or else I cannot do anything now. So at nighttime, I read ebooks. I can, yeah, definitely in on ebooks. Number two, I'm going to add little descriptors to a few of these because I went back and looked at them and then had to go back to Steve's video to remember what the hell he was talking about. Number two, his prompt is silos, which is, do you keep your reading in one particular area? Do you read only, like, science fiction, only fantasy, only horror, only fiction, only nonfiction, something like that? I am out on silos in that I try and read a variety of stuff. I always say, oh, I should read more of nonfiction, but I read the amount of nonfiction that I read. Yes. So I'm out on silos. Number three, evangelism. Do you proselytize a book? Do you say, oh my God, this is the most amazing book, and you must read it. You must read it. I guess I'm in the sense I have a BookTube channel and I do reviews. I'm not an evangelist in the sense I'm going door to door or I'm pigeonholing poor coworkers and saying, have you read Stoner? You should really read Stoner. So have you read? No, I don't do that. I proselytize on my BookTube channel, where you are completely free to ignore me. Please. Number four, palate cleansers. After you've read like a big honkin' dense book, do you then kind of find something light to read? Definitely in on palate cleansers. Number five, promiscuity. Do you read lots of books at once? For me, definitely, I've always got. I split it up into basically intermediates. I've got a print book going, I've got an ebook going, I've got an audiobook going, and at the moment I've got a book that I'm reading out loud going. So I have a variety of books all going all at the same time. I'm a slow reader, and I'm a reader who has different points of the day. I can do different sorts of things, but still getting all those books in my head. Number 6, do you like to binge on whole series of books? Like you get the, whether it's the Ring World, not Ring World, God, was it Ring? No, it's Terry Pratchett's books in his series, which, oh my God. Okay, Ring World? Discworld! Do you binge series like Discworld, which you wouldn't know I've read most of because I've completely I don't think I've read all of Larry Niven's Ringworld series, but I have read the grand majority of the Discworld series, which is impressive. It's impressive, not really, but it's impressive for myself. I would say no, I do not binge things. I always try and make a point of metering things out. There's very rarely times that I will want to read a whole series all the way through, excepting something like The Lord of the Rings, which is really, it's one book. That's the way you get the full story. But other series, I find I usually just put them down and then pick them back up again after I've had some palate cleansers of sorts and stuff like that. Number 7 is completism, which Steve makes a differentiation. This isn't when you're doing a whole series, but just there's an author and I want to read all of Hilary Mantel. I want to read all of Murakami. I want to read all of James Joyce, which I haven't read that much of James Joyce, but the other two I'm probably going to work my way through. So completism, up to a point. I try and be selective. Sometimes I won't go back too early. If I've heard like, oh, this author doesn't kick in until here, I'll try and kind of start from there and work my way along. I'm out on completism. I'm not gonna. I don't think there's any author that I love so much that I need to read every single word that has dropped from their fingers, from their keyboard or whatever, or their typewriter or their quill pen. I don't think there's any authors that are. Well, maybe Shakespeare. Maybe Shakespeare would be one maybe that I would fall into completism. But for the 99%, I would say I am out on completism. Number 8, Steve decides to poke the hornet's nest. McCarthyism. This is, do you, when you have an author, do you, before you read the author, do you vet them? Do you check out all their personal opinions, like online? Do you make sure that they line up with your ideological beliefs, that they're not on the wrong side of history, that I guess they're not racist, sexist, homophobic, or whatever thing that is going to offend you. And I find that like contemporary authors, I usually just pick up their books. The only time that usually happens is when some author that I'm reading just really makes a complete ass of themselves so large that it even pierces my bubble. In which case, I do make my decisions on whether I'm going to read their work or read more of their work and stuff like that. But McCarthyism, do I pre-vet authors as I go into them? No. And I read a lot of older authors' works where, yeah, you know what? You're always going to be on the wrong side of history when it comes down. By the end, there's always going to be something that you're going to be not up to date. Me 10 years ago was not up to date, I'm sure was on the wrong side of tons of stuff now. I'm living and hopefully adapting in the world. We're all changing and the contexts are always changing. Jokes that were super funny 20 years ago are horrendous now. And the sad thing is that if you're the people who were laughing 20 years ago, that probably just means you weren't of the group that was getting smucked around 20 years ago and was not laughing, but had to stay quiet under the own threats of things very similar to McCarthyism at the time. So no, I don't vet authors before I read them. And if I find stuff in their work that I don't like, I just note it and I try and think about it and understand it, and help me kind of deepen, hopefully, understanding of both them and of myself, and my reactions to it, and how some of that stuff is still there, still stuck in my own head. I'm a guy who was born in 1960s, so there's plenty of stuff in there that I'm sure is not pretty, and I think reading is the best way to examine and change, and think and yeah. Number 9, security blankets. Do you need to have a book with you at all times? And Steve is obviously comes from a pre-internet age, and I lived through the tail end of the pre-internet age myself. And it's like, yes, I always had a book with me, and now I have this magic device here with me with a Kindle app. So I always have a book with me. Always have a book with me. Goodness. Number 10, stalking, which is do you go to book readings of favorite authors? Do you follow your favorite authors online? Not really. Readings are fun. Readings are fun when I can go to them, and it's usually more the kind of the discussions with the author afterwards, just chatting, and usually about completely other stuff that is kind of is fun. But I do that very rarely, and I don't follow any authors online. I'm interested in their books. I'm not really interested in what's usually a little. You're usually an author's best self, if they're a really good author, is in their book, and they have awesome tweets, but that's awesome tweets. I don't care about awesome tweets. I don't have a Twitter account. I'm interested in the books. And sliding into that, number 11, tourism. Do you like to go to kind of the physical place of a novel, or of a book, or a birthplace of an author, or stuff like that? There's been the odd time where I just kind of by accident, it's like, oh, Dante may have lived around here, or stuff like that. But for the most part, no, and it's oftentimes, like especially with like a really old author like Dante, it's not like something like, well, yeah, Dante was in these physical geographical settings, but the place is probably so radically different that I'm probably get a better idea from doing research about the historical times and stuff like that. So no, not really into tourism. Number 12, day tripping. Do you read outside? I am a proper son of a Scot and an Englishwoman, and I go outside, and if I don't have my hat on, I fall over red and start twitching and stuff like that. I don't read outside. Reading is to be done inside, or as close to inside settings as possible. Number 13, do you collect books? So this is like, having pristine, unread, or, having rare volumes or first editions and things like that. And no, it's not. I want reader copies. I don't want collector's copies. That's the words the words are the thing for me. Number 14, do you organize your library? I generally do. It's one of those things. I think it's like basically, majority of my books are probably fiction. I generally put them A's, bunch of DVDs, BCDs, but nothing too thing. And then I have kind of more like subject matter for the small amount of poetry and nonfiction and other stuff that I have. Yeah, so I'm oh God, where were we? I'm in for organizing a library. Number 15, hate reading. Reading an author you hate. When an author really pisses me off, I can definitely get into a good hate read situation where I'll be making furious notes about all the things I really dislike about a book. Balzac comes to mind in a certain review I did there. I was very energized, but completely out of spite. There's love and there's spite, and they're both valid emotions. Number 16, annotating. Yes, I like annotating. I actually do more annotating with ebooks. I do more kind of just folding down with paper books, because I usually hardly ever pen around with me. But ebook, I've got a little keyboard there that I can just kind of jot little things down. So yeah, definitely I annotate. Helps me think, helps me process stuff. It's just kind of, it's not deep thoughts. It's more like reaction stuff, like, what's going on there? Huh? LOL. Really deep stuff. Nothing. It's that first readily reaction that hopefully I can go back to, and then piece this stuff together into the deep thoughts that you're used to getting on this channel. He says with deep sarcasm. Number 17, revisiting. This is when you go back and give an author another chance. And I think usually, like, if I've had a really negative reaction to an author, I will every once in a while, like, oh, there's another book out, or another book that someone's talking about. I'll listen to the people talk about it and see. Sometimes I get convinced. I get convinced to kind of like, oh, I should really try that again, or stuff like that. I'm a slow reader, so that really do have to convince me. This isn't like Steve, where he's speed reading. He's speed reading. He's just a fast reader, and he can get through a whole bunch of books. So it makes no matter to mind to him if he gives an hour to buzz through a 500-page novel again. It's like, it's not a big thing. It is a big commitment for me to revisit an author. So, but I will definitely, especially since there's so much rereading I do, that I go, wow, books I love, and they go, wow, I missed so much. So I could also just been in the wrong frame of mind for that. Number 18, overdosing. And this isn't, oh, you're reading too much, but it's just like, oh, you basically, you read a book past your bedtime until you're just like nodding off, or you spend the entire day just crammed on a couch somewhere reading. And it's like, oh, most definitely do that. I wish I could overdose more. Number 19 is sub-vocalizing. This is this thing that Steve is, if not a proponent of, is a great example of, where when Steve reads a book, he does not sound out the words in his head. It just simply plugs into the Jesuitical computer that is lodged in his that is his brain, and it processes immediately. I find that I vocalize as I read, and so I'm out on sub-vocalizing. I'm out. Yes, maybe I could put myself through some horrendous Steve Donahue boot camp of him, screaming at me, don't vocalize every day. That's what I imagine him in, kind of a sergeant thing, probably a little yappy schnauzer behind him, biting my ankles every time I try and vocalize the words. But no, I barring that kind of intervention, I'm out on sub-vocalizing. And number 20, booktubing. Does what the thing of watching all these booktube channels, does that influence what you read, who you read? And I would say most definitely Stoner being an example, Kristen Lavensdatter being another example of great, really rewarding times. Even maybe, I don't know if Balzac. I won't blame Brian for Balzac. So yes, it's definitely something that has influenced my reading, and for the grand majority, for the positive, sometimes for my spiteful negative. But even then, that was an experience that I had that I enjoyed. Okay. I will put some additions on here, because Steve can't be the only one who's going to ladle this thing full. Poor Rick's modest little book tag, which I'm gonna be at 35 minutes or so from. So let's go for it. Okay, my additions are: number 1, spoilers. Are you in or out for spoilers? Is knowing how much it's basically, is there like, you don't want to know anything about a book going into it. It's like you won't watch one of my reviews. Don't watch one of my reviews, because I will tell you way too much about a book, and then you'll not want to read it. Or, oh yeah, sure, tell me, because I'll completely forget about it after 5 seconds afterwards. And anyways, that guy was was really jumbled in his talk, and who could actually piece together from that a clear idea of what the hell the book was about anyways. Are you in or out on spoilers? Number 2, audiobooks. I know that some stately Vaughan Manor people are out on audiobooks, that they don't consider them reading for themselves. This is not me trying to cause some kind of a battle between Shay and the stately Vaughan Manor. Though you should definitely check out Michael K. Vaughan's Stately Vaughan Manor BookTube channel. It's I'll leave a link down below to his channel. Oh, is it Michael K. Vaughan? Michael Vaughan. But yes, how are you on audiobooks? Are you in or are you out on audiobooks? I find for the most part, people either enjoy them. Some people enjoy them but don't consider it reading. Other people, like myself, enjoy them and would consider it reading, something that I can bounce off of, and I can kind of dig my reading muscles into. At least I feel like that's the part of my brain that's going. Are you in or out on audiobooks? Number 3, this is similar but different. This is reading out loud. Just the act of reading a story out, whether to yourself or to others. I was reading Introduction to Amadeus of Gaul, old chivalric work, and they were talking about how in the early days, and this is like early days of the Gutenberg, of the printing press, that because there were so few books, people would gather around and listen to a book being read out, and it was kind of akin to like going to a movie theater. So it's one of these experiences, like being read out, being read to, or which is slightly different than like an audiobook, though kind of similar. It's the modern equivalent, but also just that sense of getting to read a book out loud yourself. Are you in with that, or are you out with that? Is that something that you enjoy? Is that something you've ever considered doing? Is it something you have only done with your children? Is it something you do with your partner? Is it something you stand in a room all by yourself and do? Stranger things have happened. Number 4, translations. I love a good translation. I think there's definitely an art form to it. There's sometimes I think, I wish I could learn a language so I could read something directly in the original author's language. But I don't even have English. I just got bad English. So translations is something I've definitely come to embrace, enjoy, and treasure. A really good translator is just such a gift to bringing something into a language. I can't imagine exactly how much poorer the English would be if we didn't have translations of Proust, Flaubert, Dostoevsky, Murakami, all the kind of different places around the world. And it makes me sad to think that there is some stuff that just is beyond translation, but at least there's some. So are you in or out on translations? And if you're someone who actually does not like translations, doesn't read them, I'd be curious to hear what your reasoning was, or what your kind of like diffidence against translations was. Maybe I'm just making that up as a straw person in my head. And number 6, comments. Are you in or out? And that's all I have. And oh my God. Okay, well, thank you, Rick, for your interesting prompts. Thank you, Steve, for your just few little additions. And yeah, this has just been my own little contribution to the pile. I will put, as I said, their links down below. Please feel free to do this tag yourself. Rick has definitely opened it up, saying like, you can do his prompts, you could do Steve's prompts, you could do my prompts, or you could just come up with your own completely independent list of prompts of things you've been burning to know. Are people in or out on? Yeah, I'd be totally interested to hear somebody just do a completely different list of in or outs, and that, causing more reply videos. That would be quite awesome. Wow. Okay. This has been a bit of a video, but I will now take a drink of the approved drink for all of us Canadians, eh? Are you in or out on people drinking on camera? I'm sure there's a lot of people who were outie at the first 10 seconds of this video. All right, more videos later.